Hi. I saw an article that said that Caitlyn Loane was a peasant. Okay, peasant farmer. I'll try and bring the article up, I guess, in this video right here as well. And you know, as far as how she died, I think it's the father doesn't want to reveal the information of how she died. They're just calling it a suicide. So, I mean, I don't like that, you know. Don't even bring up suicide, you know, unless you bring up, you know, the facts as well in the newspaper articles and whatever in the media. So anyway, yeah, I don't really care about that. But as far as being a peasant goes, according to Mark Twain, the most extraordinary person ever was Joan of Arc, you know, and she was a peasant who was the daughter of a farmer, okay? So, according to Mark Twain, the most extraordinary person who ever lived was a daughter of a peasant daughter of a farmer, all right? So, you know, it was just like a terrible waste to lose Caitlyn Loane. You know, I'm just, you know, I just want to try to understand why this happens. You know, I mean, she's a young, beautiful girl and, you know, 19 years old, whole life ahead of her. And, I mean, we all suffer, you know, we all go through depression and we have our ups and downs. So it's just crazy that some people get to a point where they take their life away, you know, and, you know, I mean, you're going to get over it. It's going to get better, especially when you're 19. Things are just going to get better for you, you know. It could get worse for you too, but it's like we all live that life of ups and downs. So, you know, so as far as what happened to her, you know, they're not releasing the information in the media yet. The family's withholding that information. The family should have withheld too that she also committed suicide. They shouldn't have put that out then either, you know. So anyway, all right. So you guys want to say hello? Hello. 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 Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna get the article there. The article on Mark Twain, okay, and I'll read a little bit to you, okay. So, all right, let me get that set up. My only light right here is like this little flashlight. See, that flashlight right there. That's it. You know what? I don't hold back, man. You know, nothing's too, you know, too gaudy for me or too fancy, you know. I just got the best equipment, man. Here we go. All right. my phone for the videos and a flashlight. All right. Okay. So I don't want to shine it right in my face and stuff, you know. It's you know, you got to be careful with a flashlight. You go underneath or something, you look like a leprechaun or something, you know. You can be gruesome. See what I mean? You gotta watch out for the lighting angles, man, with a flashlight. Because, hey, you know, I need all the help I can get, you know, so, yeah. All right. Okay, it's in the Ohio, what does that say? OhioNewsTime.com, okay? They wrote the article here. The other ones mentioned her as a peasant. Okay. Okay. So there's Caitlyn Loane right there. All right. An Australian teen has gained tens of thousands of followers on the TikTok channel, recording her life as a fourth-generation farmer. Rising TikTok star Caitlyn Loane, popular after seeing life as a peasant in Australia, died at the age of 19. Guess she changed her name, I guess, from Roan to Lone on her TikTok. Roan's father confirmed her death in the following statement. She was a lovely and crazy young woman who was an irreplaceable member of our family. Words cannot explain our loss, Philip Roane told the Australian media. According to People, Caitlyn's family does not share the cause of her death, but her father told Mercury, every day should be Are You Okay Day. All right. It's the National Day of stimulating conversations about mental health and suicide prevention efforts. Caitlyn, fourth generation peasant, explained by her family, bright, bubbly, and beautiful. She planned to one day run her family's ranch in northern Tasmania. All right.
How far would you drive for the girl of your dreams?
I would drive anywhere.
What about to Nebraska?
A young Aussie TikTok star labelled bright, bubbly and beautiful is being mourned after taking her own life just days after posting a video online. Caitlyn Loane had amassed more than 54,000 followers on TikTok where she shared videos of agricultural life.
Bought this bad boy from the supermarket. Grew this one myself.
The 19-year-old took pride in promoting women in agriculture and had planned to one day run her family's cattle farm in Latrobe, northern Tasmania.
She was a lovely, crazy young woman who was an invaluable member of our family. Philip Loane, Caitlyn's dad. All right, now, yeah, it went from Roane with an R now to L, Loane. All right, so there's two names here. Okay. I guess you use one of them for the TikTok. You know, I'm not exactly sure because I've never been on TikTok. You have to have an app for that, right? I don't know. I was concerned about like when China was running that app, that TikTok app. I didn't want to get involved with that at all because China was involved with it. But I think that's changed now, right? There's new management with that. I'm not sure. Okay, let me go on to Mark Twain now. Okay, so you saw in that last article that Caitlyn Loane was called a peasant farmer. Okay, well here's a girl also was called a peasant and a daughter of a farmer as well, and that's Joan of Arc. All right, so it's just a terrible waste of potential with Caitlyn Loane. You know what happened to her, and here's the story of Joan of Arc right here, another peasant girl, daughter of a farmer. Okay, how Joan of Arc conquered Mark Twain. Maybe I'll read the whole story here. See how this goes. A young boy approached Mark Twain one day after spotting the famous author standing alone on a stone bridge in Redding, Connecticut. Twain was a familiar presence in the community, and the boy had awaited such a chance to express his admiration. I was glad that he was alone, Coley Taylor recalled years later in an article in American Heritage. I had wanted to tell him how much I had enjoyed Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. But Twain's response to the young boy's praise was shocking. I had never seen him so cross. I can see him yet, shaking that long forefinger at me, Taylor recalled. You shouldn't read those books about bad boys, the author scolded. Now listen to what an old man tells you. My best book is my Recollections of Joan of Arc, You are too young to understand and enjoy it now, but read it when you are older. Remember then what I tell you now. Joan of Arc is my very best book. Twain made similar comments in other settings. I like Joan of Arc best of all my books, he wrote shortly before his death. And it is the best. I know it perfectly well. And besides, it furnished me 7 times the pleasure afforded me by any of the others. 12 years of preparation and 2 years of writing. The others needed no preparation and got none. Remember then what I tell you now. Joan of Arc is my very best book, said Mark Twain. Few literary critics today share Twain's enthusiasm for this book, the last full-length novel he published in his lifetime. More often, they express dismay or puzzlement over it. They are especially befuddled by the credulous enthusiasm Twain shows for his heroine on almost every page of this novel. How can this be? Twain was raised in a Southern culture that was deeply suspicious of, and sometimes openly hostile to, Roman Catholicism and its veneration of saints and relics. He once stated that he had been taught enmity toward everything that is Catholic, and yet in his novel about Joan of Arc, Twain comes across as more passionately Catholic than even more famous writers aligned with the church, like Graham Greene, Walker Percy, or Evelyn Waugh. That was, in fact, the conclusion reached by the reviewer Michael Kenny in the very first issue of America in 1909, after noting that it might be better if writers of her own faith would take the lead in telling Joan of Arc's story. Kenny was forced to conclude that Twain's admiration of the maid is absolute. Even his picture of the religious element in her character is adequate and warm. If Twain were alive today, he would be dismayed at how few people read the novel he saw as the high point of his literary career. The book is sometimes dismissed as an eccentricity of an aging author, but even more often it is ignored. Mark Twain's obsession with Joan of Arc has to rank among the most baffling and least talked about enigmas in American literature, Daniel Crown has written. In the introduction to a recent reissue of Personal Recollections of Joan of Arc, the Twain scholar Susan K. Harris makes the point even more strongly. By the time he's writing Recollections, he's not a believer. He is anti-Catholic, and he doesn't like the French. So he writes a book about a French Catholic martyr. Ostensibly, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Twain points out that this is the tale of the only person of either sex who has ever held supreme command of the military forces of a nation at the age of 17. A girl, a teenage girl, right? Holding supreme command of military forces that were beaten down by the British forever. And then she comes along, she takes charge, and she starts winning battles and pushing back the English and kicking them out of certain areas of France. So she was amazing. And she started the freedom eventually that would happen to France way after she passed away. You know, some 20 years, I think, or so after she passed away, when France would finally get their freedom. And but she started the ball rolling. She's the one that started the victories going for France. Okay? Make no mistake, Twain is a persuasive advocate for his martyred saint. Despite whatever reservations literary scholars might bring to the subject, he may have even helped to enlist popular support for her canonization in 1920. I suspect that he had a change of heart about Catholicism during his travels overseas, as passages in his memoir, The Innocents Abroad, 1869, tend to suggest. During his later visits to France in the 1890s, he probably undertook the bulk of the research for his book. Somehow, during the course of these years, he turned into a fervent admirer of the Maid of Orleans. He even came to see similarities between his own daughter Susie and the saint, so much so that he based his descriptions of Joan on his recollections of his daughter as a teenager. The novel deserves a better fate than it has received. The story itself is riveting. How could it not be? After all, this is a tale of the only person of either sex who has ever held supreme command of the military forces of a nation at the age of just 17. At the age of 17, as Twain points out in the epigraph to his book. I suspect that this novel could even serve as the basis for a mega hit movie in the current day. When studios seek out narratives featuring powerful female protagonists, sweeping cinematic panoramas, and awe-inspiring effects. Those are all here in a way that they are not in Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Here's a thumbnail sketch of those who are not up to speed on the 100 Years' War. Charles VII, who had inherited the throne of France after all four of his elder brothers died before the age of 20. Wow. Was in dire circumstances when Joan emerged from the peasantry with promises of divine assistance. His troops had been decimated by the British, and Charles was forced to abandon Paris. By some accounts, he was ready to flee the country in the face of insurmountable odds. But an untutored teenage girl, supposedly Joan of Arc could not even read or write, right? But an untutored teenage girl, inspired by visions of angels, led French troops in decisive battles. France was getting their butts kicked in by the British. They weren't winning anything. And then here's this 17-year-old girl that comes along, and she now leads these troops into battle, and they start winning battles. Crazy. Led French troops in decisive battles. Joan of Arc lifted the siege of Orleans and reclaimed territory both by combat and, in around 30 instances, immediate surrender from communities unwilling to oppose this young woman who seemed to possess a divine mandate to conquer. Okay, so it goes on from there. That's it. All right. Later on, she was caught by the British, and the British came up with some nonsense and, called her, got her up on heresy. I think accused of her being a witch and burned her at a stake. So what a shame. Let's see. Let me read this part right here. A century later, George Bernard Shaw took up her cause in his play St. Joan. Even the greatest conqueror of all, Napoleon, was conquered in turn by the Maid of Orleans, moving to reinstate celebrations in her honor after they were prohibited following the French Revolution. Okay. Okay, this is the ending part right here. I do not think this book is outdated. It is maybe even the opposite. Twain's enthusiasm is still alive in these pages. That is, after all, the most conspicuous quality in this entire novel. Twain's enthusiasm is the most conspicuous quality in this entire novel. The author's devotion to Joan of Arc, it jumps off every page. And this is all true because they documented like the court cases and whatnot. You know, what Joan of Arc was saying at the trial and everything. And it's like word for word. So Mark Twain got that literature, or rather that documentation, okay? That factual documentation from the actual court case of Joan of Arc, all right? That's documented. They still have that. So that's what he took. So this is like, this is like some kind of fiction or whatever. This is like all documented truths that Mark Twain used to write this book. If you come to share his devotion, and Twain makes that very easy to do, you will not be surprised at all at how much our esteemed writer loved this particular book. In fact, the main cause for surprise might be why so few had taken him at his word and given this novel a chance. All right? The guy who wrote this article was Ted, I don't know how to pronounce it, Gioia. He writes on music, literature, and popular culture, okay? I think I got to check out this book someday, Joan of Arc. All right. Okay, so there it is. You know, here you see Caitlyn Loane being called a peasant farmer, and here's a peasant woman, Joan of Arc, and what she was able to accomplish, you know. Although, I mean, she accomplished that at a very young age and stuff like that. It's just like, I'm just pointing out, like, the value of everybody, and for crying out loud, you know. It's a waste on such a young, pretty girl, smart girl like Caitlyn Loane. So, all right. So, okay, here's what Mark Twain said about Joan of Arc. Whatever thing men call great, look for it in Joan of Arc, and there you will find it. It took 6,000 years to produce her. Her like will not be seen in the earth again in 50,000. She is easily and by far the most extraordinary person the human race has ever produced. That's Mark Twain commenting about Joan of Arc. Isn't that something? Joan of Arc, to Mark Twain, is the most extraordinary person the human race has ever produced. Joan of Arc, a peasant girl who is the daughter of a farmer. So you never know who's going to have the most value. You know, at least to some people. To Mark Twain, the most valuable person ever, most extraordinary person was Joan of Arc. Okay, so what I'm saying is the bottom line is this. You know, here she is, Caitlyn Loane, being called a peasant farmer. But, you know, here you have one of the greatest literary writers in American history, Mark Twain, calling this peasant girl, Joan of Arc, the greatest person, you know, the most extraordinary person who ever lived. So that's the bottom line. We all have, like, incredible value. And, you know, you never know who would, like, maybe rise up. And some people would consider, like, the most valuable person who ever lived. You know, so it was just a terrible waste. Someone who's called a peasant, like Caitlyn Loane. You know, the extraordinary value that she might have had maybe over the years. Who knows? But, you know. But anyway, all right. Take care. See you later. Bye. Okay, you guys. So, that's it. You know, I'm going to, like, review everything that I, you know, the Mark Twain story that I read and you know, see how it was. I was a little bit blurry-eyed reading that. That's why at some points I was taking these pauses, trying to, like, see what I was reading. All right, so, okay. Take care, everybody. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. This is like 6-7 days in a row now. I've never done this before, but, like, I put out a video, like, every day. So, I hope this has some value to some people. And, all right, and take care, everybody, and have a good night. And, okay, you guys, you want to say goodnight? Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. All right, take care. Take care, you guys. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow, all right? All right, bye-bye.